Hey everybody, Karyn Bryant here, and I've got Eryk Anders kicking back with me right now. He is fighting Jamie Pickett at UFC Vegas 87, and that's in a couple weeks. It's a Friday night when we're talking now. So how's your prep going? What's your vibe like now as we're just like basically 2 weeks out?
Man, everything's good. Feeling good.
Yeah,
Feeling pretty healthy right now. Usually I'm a little banged up, but
yeah.
man, camp's been going really well. Doing this one at home,
Hmm.
so I could be around the kids a little bit more. They're getting much older and
Hmm.
bigger, so I didn't want to miss out on too many things. So
Yeah,
it feels good being home, sleeping in my own bed, seeing them, being around them. They give off a lot of good energy. So
nice.
feeling good.
And how old are they?
12 and 14.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's cool.
they're
That's
getting
cool.
there.
So this fact that you're doing it at home though implies that you've been on the road and you've been going to different places, and it does seem to be that way for a long time. We're fighting out of Alabama. So where have you been? Like, where did you go and visit, and what was the reason behind going to see those places?
Um, just like, through fighting and training, like you meet people, become friends with people. So they're
Mm.
like, hey, come train or whatever. So I've been out to Philly, trained with Marquez, Joe Piper,
Nice.
Jeremiah Wells. Those two guys just fought this past weekend.
Right.
Sean Brady, been out to Austin, did some jujitsu with Nicky
Craig.
Rod over
Yeah,
there.
Nicky
Got
Rod. I love
thrashed,
it. Nice. I
so
love Nicky Rod. Oh, you got smashed. You said.
duh, you already know.
Did you roll with Heisem?
Mm, maybe.
Maybe, but yeah, no, you got
I'm
smashed.
not
I
really
love
good
it.
with names, but obviously,
Those guys are great. I
he's the
love it.
guy
They're
out there.
awesome.
But I rolled with everybody I could, so
Nice.
I got beat up, pretty good bit, which I think like you need
Yeah.
as a fighter, because sometimes you start to like feel yourself a little bit. Like I be at home and um, there's just not like so many challenges here. But then you
Yeah.
go to a place like that, and somebody you've never even seen or heard of, or that made weight like 150 pounds, is balling you up. You know what I mean? So it's like, ah, dude, like there's levels to the game, and
Yeah.
it's a very humbling experience to go in there and train with guys like that.
100%. Yeah, it's amazing to go from being the big fish in the little pond, right? To now you're out there swimming with sharks and stuff, and I feel like that's good for everybody's growth. I've told the story before, but I took years and years ago. I took Tyron Woodley down to King's MMA, and he got touched up by kickboxers. Andre
Yeah,
Vita. Tyron has told this story himself, so I'm not telling tales out of school. But it's like he was like, oh, okay, okay. Now I see where the holes are in my game. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
now you
sure.
learned some stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even like, an arm bar is an arm bar, a
Yeah.
knee bar is a knee bar, but like how to get that from different positions and just to
Hmm.
realize like, these guys are like levels above you. I mean, it doesn't matter where, like with Nikki, for example, it didn't matter where we started. He got to whatever position he was working on that day.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if he started in like bottom half guard, or if I was in his guard or vice versa or whatever position he was working, whatever submission he was working, he was gonna get there one way or
He's gonna
another,
get it.
and not just once. Like they put on 10-minute rounds, and then they go for like an hour like that. So
Yeah.
by the time it's over with, you're like army crawling off the mat, like almost dead. But those guys, that's what they do. You know
Right.
what I mean? So they're
Right.
just like, okay, practice is over, guys. Hit the shower and
Yeah.
bounce. Guys,
Nice.
just give me a minute. I'm gonna lay here for a second.
Just
Let me regain my composure. Let me catch my breath. Let me let this heart rate come down, and I'll get back with y'all.
I'm good though. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's quite the squad. So that's great. I'm glad that you have experienced that. And so obviously that means you recognized that that was a part of your game you needed to work on, right? That's right.
Well, yeah, like if I walked into like maybe Tiger Muay Thai, for example, like I may get beat up by some little Thai dude who weighs 130 pounds, but that's what he does, just
Right.
Muay Thai. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like I think like with me, I always try to like go to like a gym that like when I travel, I try to go somewhere that like where they specialize in something.
Yep.
Like obviously B team, they're all jujitsu players. I don't think
Hmm.
there are very many if any at all, like MMA fighters.
Yeah.
But some of those, like Nikki comes from like a wrestling background, and
Mm-hmm.
wrestling is very applicable to MMA. So
Yep.
like I can like kind of take that and like, okay, I like that arm bar setup or that knee bar setup or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, and I can like kind of make it my own and adapt it for my style of MMA. Because
For sure.
very rarely do I just do jujitsu. Although I am starting to do that a little bit more, like just these little jujitsu tournaments here and
Uh-huh.
there, and
Nice.
just to like stay active and work on that, because I think when I'm done with fighting, like jujitsu will always be there for me. So I started with that, and I'll probably do that for the rest of my life.
That makes a lot of sense. My buddy Babalu, that's what he was doing. He after he fought, he was like, "Well, he's got a jujitsu gym, and
Hmm.
he's like, I can do this forever." So that's great. That's very smart. And I am curious still too how the transition has been for you from having been a football player. How much you feel like that base, what either was good or maybe taught you some things that like you had to unlearn because they were actually a bad technique for MMA.
I think like playing football at a high level and like just playing like all the sports in high school, you just kind
Mm-hmm.
of like become an athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you like playing football. Like I literally spent year round training my body to be the biggest, strongest, fastest, most explosive, the
Yeah.
quickest it possibly could. And like some of those things, like if you get like so much stronger than everybody else or
Uh-huh.
whatever, that just like if they only do jujitsu, they're probably not like super like strong. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you,
for
you
sure.
can like take like the athleticism and like the attributes that you developed like playing football or other
Hmm.
sports, and then bring it to MMA
Right.
and wrestling and things like that. But like as far as like the actual sport of football, like I
Hmm.
don't think there's too many movements, especially for my position, that are applicable to
Yeah.
like MMA. You know what I mean? I guess maybe like tackling somebody is kind of similar to a double leg,
I was just
you
gonna say
know?
that seems to me the most obvious one and kind of the only real one. Yeah, yeah. Takedowns would be the thing for me. I would think, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but like anything else, like you're not moving in like circles or like trying to circle anybody or
right.
but like we used to like, because I used to rush the passer, so basically like a defensive end, they put this hoop out there,
Yep.
and you have to like what they call bending the corners. Like you have to like get as low as you can, but like your
Uh-huh.
feet have to stay on the ground. So it's like works on like ankle flexibility and
Okay.
like moving in weird positions that I guess you might be in
Yeah.
like wrestling. But
I was just gonna say, yeah, that could be helpful. That for sure.
wrestling,
Jiu-jitsu.
high school wrestling or college wrestling is definitely going to help like
Yeah.
apply more to MMA than playing football does.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But, every now and then, and especially too, since he just retired and all that, you have all that glorious footage of you out on the gridiron and all that. So that's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
good, not
Many
maxed
moons
out.
ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what's the deal? What do you make of the matchup with Jamie Pickett? You have this coming up. This is on the fight card of Biggie, Jairzinho Rosenstruck versus Shamil
Chanel
Gadziev.
Russian.
Sorry, right, exactly. So yeah, what do you make of the
Um,
matchup?
I like the matchup. I think he's a big, strong, athletic guy, much like myself.
Hmm.
But I think like skill set for skill set, I'm better everywhere.
Yeah.
Striking, I'm definitely much more like give much more pressure. He doesn't seem to
Hmm.
like pressure too much. Um, Better wrestler, better jujitsu player. Although I don't have any, I think I have like one submission in like 25 fights.
Yeah.
Um, but like I don't go for
I
submissions
was
because
just
I
gonna
don't
say you
like.
probably beat somebody's ass and then we're like, oh,
Yeah.
F it, let me try to get a choke instead.
Well, no, the dude who actually submitted, I didn't even really submit. Like he didn't really even want to fight. I don't think. Like I
Oh,
took him
gotcha.
down, and he was, I got like one arm around his neck, and he tapped
He's
even
like,
before
nah.
I had a hook in or anything. So it's just, but this is like my third pro fight, so I was fighting slouches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now,
gotcha.
like I'm not so much of a risk taker. Like if I get on top, like I'm gonna stay on top, and I try
Yeah,
really, 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 really hard to not be on bottom
yeah,
ever. So
yeah.
like the submissions just don't present themselves, and I'd rather hit somebody than choke them.
For sure, for sure. But you know what I mean? You see it sometimes where like somebody has the option, they've got somebody's back or something, and they're kind of raining down, and they're like, well, I could either go for the TKO or go for the knockout, or go for a submission, just sink an arm underneath. And if you want the stat, you might be able to do that. But I hear you.
Maybe this is the fight though. He's tapped with like 1 second on the
Uh-huh.
clock against Kyle Dawkins, but at the
Right.
same time, like Kyle Dawkins, that's his thing, is those darces. So
Right. Right.
I
But
don't know.
according
I
to
just
MMA math, you
think,
beat Kyle Dawkins, and he lost to him. So yeah, according to MMA math, you should win this fight.
yeah, no, I don't think MMA math don't work out. That's like guy math. It just
It
doesn't.
really
It sounds good. It just don't work out though.
It really doesn't. No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. So yeah, what do you think though most dangerous about him? Doesn't he have long arms, if I'm remembering correctly?
He's got really long arms. I think
Yeah.
he's got like an 82-inch reach or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
So that's an issue. If he works the jab, that's an issue.
Of course, of course. I'm not saying he's unskilled. Of course, he's skilled. He's in
Right.
the UFC. He's
Yep.
got to have some skill.
Yep.
But I mean, obviously, he's got a lot of power too. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think anytime you fight, especially at like middleweight and above, it only takes one punch.
Yeah.
But I really haven't been finished that too many times. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially with strikes or even at all. So.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he'll have his work cut out for him, as will I. But I just think
Mm-hmm.
that my mentality is different than his, and I think I can go out there and bully him and take him down, beat him up, whatever I want to do. So he'll make it
Yeah, I
a
was gonna
fight, but
say
at
you've
the end of the
always
day,
been the
he'll
guy
go
that
win.
likes to take the lead and stuff, right? Like, yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
times, some people are counter guys, and I think that's what's fun about your style is like you just kind of go in there and go for it.
yeah, and to be honest, man, I really think that's why I'm still in the UFC. I think
Yeah.
I have like a 500 record in the UFC, but the fights are always entertaining. So, I think it's not so much of a hard sell. It's like, oh man, you know what you're getting when this guy fights. So,
Yeah.
that's somebody that you want to watch fight. You know what I'm saying? Win, lose, or draw. It's going to be, crooked noses and black eyes in there for sure.
Yeah, honestly, that's definitely a selling point. And I remember when you were fighting the Iron Turtle, and I was like, I remember talking to Sean Shelby about that, and I was like, well, this, I was like, well, this, seemed like a fight that like Eric's gonna, really kind of put it to him, and he was like, yeah, he's like, but that dude is so hard to finish, and he's just like so hard to get out of there, and that was a really close fight. I did think you won, but that was a tough one. It, split decision. So does that affect you in terms of like, some people really think about that and they're like, I really got to go for it and I can't leave anything in the, hands of the judges. You have already a forward, go for it style anyway, but like, how much do you think about the judging part of things when, if you're in there and it's kind of a close fight?
Um, to be honest, like when I'm actually fighting, I'm really not thinking a whole lot,
Yeah.
but that has
Good.
happened to me a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it is up to me to like make it like not so much of a toss up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To go out there, take the lead,
Mm-hmm.
do damage and put guys away.
Mm-hmm.
So do I think that there's like definitely an issue with judging and scoring? Yeah, of course. Like I'm not the only person that's happens to.
Yeah.
It happens almost every week. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So but at the end of the day, like I have to go out there and perform and not. I think like the biggest thing with me is like I kind of like play to my competition instead of just going out there and like steamrolling people like I
Yeah.
should. I ended up like kind of like playing to their level and making a fight that shouldn't be so competitive. Competitive.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It's happened a few times. I've been on the wrong end,
Mm-hmm.
and it is my fault, but there needs to be like someone needs to like check the judges as well.
Yeah, I get that, but I would ask then, when you look at, let's say your last like 6 fights or something like that, you've had mixed results. So when you look back at that, are you, if you take a real hard, honest look, do you recognize sometimes when you didn't do something right in camp or whatever, or like I said, I thought you beat Park. So in that case, a split decision is kind of like, well, what are you going to do? But like, do you recognize things that you did in the camp and the results you got in the fight? Do you recognize the difference
Yeah,
now?
I think it's kind of like a Hail Mary. You know what I mean? If you
Mm-hmm.
win, if the dude catches the ball, then you're the greatest play caller of all time, and
Yeah.
whatever. So you go out there and win, especially you go out there and dominate. Then everything you did in the camp was perfect, and you did
Hmm.
exactly how you're supposed to do it, and blah blah blah, and vice versa. You go out there and get beat up and or like lose or you know you look back and say, okay, I did this, and this, but at the end of the day, if the fight is that close, and it's a split decision, and you feel like you should have got the nod. Like so I think the fighter has to take accountability too. Like
Yeah.
regardless, like if you feel like you weren't getting what you were supposed to be getting in camp, you should have said something sooner. If you go out there and lose a close fight, you should have did more. Especially if you're not getting dropped, if you're not just getting out wrestled, if you're not like getting hurt for real. Like there's been very few times where I've been like, oh shit, like I need to get on my bike. So it like the first time I lost, like my first loss to Machida, like
Hmm.
I wasn't like tired after the fight. So what does that mean? Like I could have
Yep.
did more. I should have did more. Same thing with Park. I could have did more. I should have did more. So like I always look at myself first before I look at anything else. And if you're not like completely exhausted, or you just weren't outclassed, like Roundtree, there was nothing I could have did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was gonna
Yeah.
help me in that fight. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But any other fight that I've lost, like I could have done something during the fight or before the fight, um, or said something to a coach or to a training partner or whatever to have maybe get a different result. So I always look at myself first before anything.
Well, that's great to take accountability, and it's interesting that you say that too, because a lot of time when we're at the Apex fights, I'm sitting there just watching, and I'm right by the octagon, and I'm right behind somebody's corner usually. And to me, that's the thing that I see the frustration on the coaching side, or even just me sitting there. I'm like, when somebody doesn't throw enough volume, when they're just like that's and you can see the coaches going crazy, and I'm going crazy, like just throw something,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
throw. And I understand it's paralysis by analysis is a real thing, but there are some times when I'm like, well, bro, why are you here if you're like only throwing like 7 punches around? Like,
yeah,
why are
yeah.
we here, bro?
Like I don't know. And sometimes
It's
like
hard.
you just wake up on the right side of the bed
For sure.
or the wrong side of the bed. Like sometimes you just like,
Yeah.
dude, I don't. Can we do this tomorrow? Like,
That
do you mind?
sucks.
But sometimes, like when I fought Kyle Dawkins, dude,
Yeah.
I slept like 8 hours the night before. I was able to
Yeah.
sleep. I didn't feel, think, or anything about the fight. And then you get to the arena like 2 hours before, and you're just sitting there, and then you warm up a little bit and you do your thing. It's like, oh shit, it's time to fight. And then it's just like you're not even like thinking, you're not analyzing anything. You're just doing, moving, and reacting. And like those are the nights that you have the like your best
Hmm.
performances. Um, but then sometimes, dude, you get into a brawl and you just got to bite down your mouthpiece. It also could be like a great performance as well. You know what I
Right.
mean? So,
Right. Right.
like my last fight, I didn't win, but we got fight of the night,
Fight of the night.
and
Exactly.
everybody loved that fight. I got dropped, got hurt. My
Yeah.
nose was crooked. So but
Yeah, no, you're in entertaining stuff, and
and
I feel like the like what Vinicius one, like I feel like that one you were like, oh, I'm going to work, you know what I mean, and you kind
yeah,
of like
yeah.
you made short work of that one, and it seemed like a really like a more of a clinical approach that night or something.
Yeah, well, those are the best ones, dude. If I could
Yeah,
end every fight like that, I would absolutely do so. If I could
yeah,
fight every fight and it only lasts like a minute and 45 seconds with me knocking the dude out, then yeah, I would prefer that. But it's just not that way sometimes.
yeah. It's not that way. Okay, so I'm trying to think. So, are it's fun for you still? You know what I mean? Obviously, like it's your job, but
Dude, I love it.
it's fun.
I
Like it's
don't
better
see it
than
as
laying
a
bricks or something, right? No disrespect to
yeah,
the bricklayers, we need you, but like, is it still fun for you? Is it was it
yeah,
ever fun?
I love it. Yeah, no, it's always been fun.
Yeah,
I love the training. I love showing up to the gym every day, even if I don't
yeah,
have a fight coming up. Like every problem that I have doesn't exist while I'm training. So I try to train as much as possible. And like when I leave, like you leave with like a clearer mind, a clearer head, and you kind of like think through everything else, and
hmm,
everything just becomes so much more clear. So
hmm,
yeah, and I get paid really well. So like I'm having a great time. Like the whole summer, I can take off and do whatever I want
yeah,
with the kids. We go on road trips and go visit places and do things. So
yeah,
yeah, like my job is awesome. The only thing that I hate is that I get hurt a lot. You know, there's like almost after every fight, like I need some kind of surgery or whatever. But that's just the nature of the beast. You know, I'll be 37 in April, so like
Yeah.
I still feel young, but like my body is like, you ain't young, my boy.
No,
You know what
no,
I mean?
and yeah, and you've been an athlete all your life too, so it's
Yeah,
not just
exactly.
yeah,
So I got a lot of wear and tear um, on the body, but you
yeah.
know, I would, you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's great to hear because I feel like that's when maybe people start to recognize time is like when they don't necessarily want to go to the gym all the time, right? When that starts to feel like a chore a little bit more, or you're going less frequently when you don't have a contract signed, and that kind of stuff. Like I feel like the fact that you're saying it like that, then yeah, you're still hungry for it, you're still obviously going around and training in different places and still like looking to absorb a lot of information. So
Yeah, the only thing that really changes when I don't have a fight coming up is like the intensity and the
yeah,
volume of training.
yeah,
You know, I may lift weights like 3 days a week. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? But when I have a fight coming up, I'm doing something 6 days a week.
Yeah, exactly,
Or you know, I'll add, add in a few extra training sessions or whatever. But
right,
I'm always going to be in the gym. I'm always going to train. At least twice a day.
yeah,
And no matter where I'm at, if I'm on vacation, if I'm traveling or whatever,
yeah,
man, dude, there's jujitsu gyms everywhere. There's
yeah,
boxing gyms everywhere, like literally all over the planet. You know, I've
yeah,
trained in like Croatia, for example. Every time I
yeah.
go to Brazil, on every corner there's a jujitsu gym. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so there's for me, it's like therapeutic training. It doesn't always have to be with like intent to like go fight and beat somebody, rather
Right.
than exercise. That's just my exercise of choice. Jujitsu or boxing, kickboxing or wrestling or whatever. Not the
Right.
easiest, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not
right. But
going
it
in there and
is.
doing bench press or running on the treadmill or nothing like
Right.
that, but that's not fun for me.
Yeah,
Jujitsu is fun for me. It always has been, always will
for
be. Even
sure.
if I get smashed,
It's fun.
it's like, oh, I am human. You know
I
what
am
I
human. I am fallible. Yeah, no, I hate. I the regular stuff at the gym is boring to me. I was so happy when I found jumping rope because it's like dancing for me, and I can do it my thing, and I can take it anywhere, and I can do it all, and
mean?
anywhere I
Yeah.
want. I love it. But if you're ever in LA, I would say I would the gym. Obviously, there's so many people here. Like Cabrinha is here for jiu-jitsu and he's incredible, and but I would say that actually the person I would take you to is my buddy Justin Fortune, the Fortune Gym. He's a heavyweight boxer, a former heavyweight boxer. He fought Lennox Lewis, and he's got his own gym, and so it's like a straight up like old school boxing gym and stuff like that. But he actually used to train like Verdum and Babalu and stuff like that too, so he knows how
Oh,
to train.
nice.
He knows how to train MMA fighters and stuff too. But like you guys are kind of like built the same. He was like a stockier kind of guy that just
Yeah,
like with a
yeah.
lot of power and stuff. And yeah, it'd be really fun for you to meet him because he also worked with like Manny Pacquiao and stuff like that. So
Oh, shit. Yeah.
and yeah, no, that'd be cool. So when if you're ever here, you gotta let me know. I'll definitely take you over to
No,
Justin's. That'd be
say
great.
less.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right?
My brother lives in LA, so I'll go down there and visit him,
Nice,
sometime this summer.
nice, nice. So what are you doing when you're not training and stuff like that? I forget if you're a gamer or not.
Hell no, I hate video games. I
No,
only
yeah,
play. I just don't have the attention span for it. It doesn't just. It
yeah,
never has. Even when I was a kid, like I would try and
right,
play, and I'd be like, "All right, guys, we've been doing this for like a whole 30 minutes. Dude, let's go outside and do something outside."
yeah,
But I do play. I do play with my kids.
yeah,
They play Fortnite, Madden. I don't play in the NBA games because it's just not basketball. It's not my thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But man, I have a garden out there. I'm learning how to play the guitar,
Oh, nice.
Portuguese and Spanish.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm always trying to learn something new, do something new. I redid my kitchen.
Uh huh. Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so just trying to like evolve. Like what I mean. Like
Yeah,
I've never like laid tile before, or put up a backsplash, or
just laying pipe.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Been doing that since a young age.
I've been doing that since forever. That's funny. I couldn't
Yeah,
resist.
the gardening, I didn't think that I'd get into that, but like I had surgery after one of my fights and was just bored to death sitting in the house, not,
Hmm.
being able to train or anything. So I just went out there and like built like maybe like a 6 by 6 foot garden, like a little
Yeah,
square
nice, like a
garden. And
raised bed type thing.
yeah, and
Yeah,
threw
nice.
some dirt in there, threw some tomato seeds and cucumber seeds and carrots, and the shit actually grew. And I was like,
It's
hold up.
fantastic.
Yeah, so now I got like a nice big garden out there that, I grow like beets, carrots, onions, strawberries, sweet potatoes, um, tomatoes, zucchini, watermelon,
Nice.
beets, a bunch of stuff. You know what I
Nice.
mean? And I eat it too, so it's not
Well, you
like I
should.
just
Well, I was
grow
going to
it
say
in my
that's
house.
fantastic because Alabama's made for that. Also, you should kick it with Rose, right? Because Rose is an avid gardener and stuff too. And
Oh,
I
is
think she
she?
also she keeps bees and stuff too. But
See, I'm
Rose is
allergic
really
to
into
those, so
gardening.
I can't even fuck with her on
Yeah,
that.
but my dad used to be like way into gardening too, and so like yeah, I remember as a kid he had this massive garden in the backyard because he was from Virginia and like grew up, and knew how to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
grow stuff. And yeah, like we'd harvest it and I'd make zucchini bread out of something I just pulled out of the dirt. It's a really satisfying feeling.
Dude, yeah, me and the kids go out there and dig up, like I think last year, the year before, we might have had like 30, 40 sweet potatoes and had to
Awesome.
dig them all up, dig them all up. And it was just the best thing because I just took two sweet potatoes that I got from the store, like
Yeah.
Walmart or Publix or something, tossed them in the ground, and then they grew. Like, I'm not like
That's
saying I'm like a botanist. Like, I'm not saying I'm George Washington Carver or nothing like that.
right.
But like the what do you call it? The climate here and the
Yep.
soil here is so good.
Perfect.
I can literally toss the seeds in the ground and it will grow. And I just got to maintain it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. No,
So,
that's awesome.
but it's fun to go out there and do, and then make the garden beds and do all
Yeah.
that stuff. So, and then it's just
Very
something
cool.
else to do with the kids. So it's whatever.
Well, yeah, no, that's a real life skill like that, and that's like a valuable thing for them to learn. And
Yeah, people always laugh when I tell them I have a garden. They're like, "You have a garden?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude." And you know what? I actually grow shit in there, and it's
look at
successful.
you. So you're
So
gardening, you're learning languages, and all this. You're like a Renaissance man now. All of a sudden.
I'm trying. I just want to like know a little bit of everything. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's cool.
Obviously, Portuguese is like important in the fight community. Like,
Of
there's
course.
like, I love Brazil. It's, what I would consider my second home.
Yeah.
Spanish is like a super common language, so
Yep.
why not? And
Yep.
the guitar, I've always wanted to play music, like play guitar. Like, I'm
Yeah.
terrible, I'm trash, but I'm getting better.
Well, I'll send you on IG. I'll send you a link to my brother's profile. My brother, in fact, is a phenomenal guitar player,
Is he really?
like a phenomenal electric guitar player. So like I grew up, I know every Van Halen song. Like I grew up listening to like really hard rock coming, blaring down the hallway. And
Really?
so, oh yeah, no, but so I even shared a post earlier today because I thought of the song because when I was driving today, I heard Van Halen ain't talking about love, and I was like, I freaking love this song so much. Like Fair Warning and like the early Van Halen,
Yeah.
I have such a love for, and just driving around, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm feeling this, and so but he is a really really good guitar player and stuff like that. So I'll send you his a link to his stuff. You can follow him and hit him up for if you have any questions or whatever. He's a real cool guy. He lives in Florida. Good dude.
Yeah, I think this like the 70s and 80s are probably the best
Yeah.
like decades for music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends what kind of music, but like
Depends on
that
what you
kind of
like. Depends on what
music,
you like.
like music with like instruments, like 90s
Right.
is probably the best for like hip hop and stuff like that.
Right.
But
I agree.
I don't know, they're just so enthusiastic. Every song you're gonna get a solo of like a
Totally.
guitar, piano, a xylophone or something,
Yeah, yeah.
and they just like every song just makes you like, you know what I mean?
For sure.
So
Well, listen
I don't
to
know. For me, anyways.
no, I feel you. Before we did this interview, I was listening to Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
First I put on Hey Hey What Can I Do because I just love that song, and then I put on When the Levee Breaks, and I was like in there. I was like, because
Yeah,
people
so
don't
you
know. Like
can't
I
help but
used to
feel
work
it.
in a radio station. Like behind me, that's a Chili Peppers poster that's signed by everybody but Chad. He wasn't there that day because he had to get his drums fixed. And that's like a Pearl Jam platinum record that they gave me from when I was a
Oh,
VJ at MTV and stuff like that. And like so, like I'm like a rock and roll girl. Like
yeah, dude,
that's my stuff.
the Chili Peppers is my favorite band of all time. And I went, like,
Amazing,
the UFC was in London this summer, and it
right?
just so happens that they played in Tottenham Stadium the night
That's right.
before. And, dude, I bought tickets and went. And then, yeah, dude, it was like the best thing ever. So it was, I got to
Awesome.
watch fights, and then I got to see. And, dude, those guys are like 60 years old, dude. They still have like a shit ton of energy, dude. I was like thoroughly impressed with not only like the turnout, like those guys really are like
Yeah.
worldwide with it. But also like Flea and
Anthony.
all those guys, yeah,
Yeah.
Anthony Kiedis, they just have such energy. I couldn't imagine seeing them, 20, 30 years ago,
Dude, I love them. I drove Flea around in my car. Like when I used to run a radio station and stuff like that. Like I remember taking the Red Hot Chili Peppers to see Ika Mouse. Like I literally, because I
Oh
used to
wow.
run a radio station. Of like, dude, they were my favorite and are one of my all-time favorite bands. And I remember, like, yeah, yeah, I've spent some time with them. So it was
Ooh,
very
I can
funny to
hear it
like
in your
show up at a
voice. Fond
club and
memories.
yeah, no, it's like I show up at a club and I'm like, yeah, I got the Chili Peppers with me. Like they had just like totally torn down like the living room or Lupo's or someplace they had totally rocked in Providence. And then we went over to the church house and like hung out and saw Ika Mouse and then hung back out at the Biltmore. I love them. I love them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, they're
yeah,
great. They're
it's
great.
good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, cool. Well, so listen, this is a fight. So you're going to be fighting early March. How many fights do you want to get in this year? Because I feel like it's been a minute since you fought, and I know you were saying like, oh, I get injured after fights and stuff. So sometimes, obviously, it's like recovery time or whatever. But how active are you hoping to be? Like, let's say knock wood, everything goes well, and you win quickly, and like don't get injured. How many fights are you looking for? And do you have like somebody in mind?
Man, I think it would be really fun to go to Rio. I know they're going there
Yep.
May 4th, I
In
think.
May. Yep.
So maybe I get to fight a non-Brazilian in Brazil, and I can be the Brazilian
You
in,
could be
in
the
Brazil.
guy.
So
Nice.
that'd be great. Ideally, it doesn't matter who, man. I just, I say yes, and
Right.
we show up and fight, and then that's that.
And
So
that's it. I love it. I love it. Well, cool. So we will see you in action against Jamie Pickett. That's at UFC Vegas 87, March 2nd.
March 2nd, yep.
Second, March 2nd. Cool. Well, I'm glad that we were able to catch up. It's been a minute. Last time, folks should know if they haven't ever seen it. Yeah, last time I saw you, I guess was when we had Hanato and I had you on Fistivities. So I think
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
last
Next
time we were
time,
kicking it.
yeah, we gotta do it more often.
For sure, for sure. Well, like I said, we're on a little bit of a hiatus with that, but I was talking with him the other day, and we're thinking, of figuring out how to get the band back together. So
Yeah,
it's
do it.
good. It's good
People love
stuff.
it.
It's good stuff. Cool. All right. Well, great catching up with you, and I'll see you in Vegas.
Always.
See
Pleasure.
ya.